Hi there guys, welcome to video 3 in my Ultimate HFT500 video build series. In this one we're going to be making a few replacement parts for the action. So what we're going to be making is a new valve pin, a new valve cap, a pellet probe, and then finally a new two-piece hammer. Now the construction of these parts is fairly obvious, so I'll let the video speak for itself, but I do want to explain why I'm making these parts. So first up, I'm making the new valve components, and this will be the new valve cap. Nothing really that interesting here. It is titanium to save a little bit of weight, but this will just replace the original brass part, and as we are regulating the rifle, I will no longer need the pot on the adjuster. The only thing I did slightly different here was broach a hex in the end of the part so I can use a 4mm Allen key to adjust the valve return spring setting. Apart from that, it is very similar to the original, but just made from titanium to save us a little bit of weight. Right then, next up is going to be the titanium valve pin and Delrin valve face. Now the original part uses a steel valve pin, and I'm not quite sure what plastic is used for the valve face, but it is very soft. It looks injection molded, and the problem with that is that over time the soft plastic extrudes, and this can cause problems with accuracy. The Delrin one that I'm currently making will be harder and stiffer than the standard plastic, so I shouldn't have any problems with extrusion in the future. And I will also mention I made two valves, so one was Delrin and the other was Peak, just so I could see if there was a difference between the two. So far the tests have been inconclusive. There does not seem to be much or any difference between the parts. I would expect the Peak one to last much longer as it's a harder material, but in terms of performance there really isn't much between them. Moving on to the valve pin, and titanium is used here as it's light. It's around 40% lighter than steel, assuming the same overall part volume, and being lighter it's better for the valve, as the valve will accelerate and decelerate faster, or in other words the valve action will be a lot more snappy. Now in real-world testing, as a direct comparison, if I set the rifle up using my titanium valve, shooting at around 710 feet per second using JSB 10.34 grain heavies, then swap over to the standard valve, I lose around 25 feet per second, keeping all other factors the same. So the titanium valve isn't exactly game-changing, but it certainly makes the rifle more efficient and will help to get me a couple extra shots. The only thing that I will have to keep an eye on is that titanium is not as impact resistant as steel, so after 1,000 or so shots I will need to check the valve pin for any mushrooming on the tip. I'm sure it will be fine as the valve will never bottom out, but it is something I wanted to mention. The last thing about the valve is you can see I have turned down the back half next to the valve face, and this was done for two reasons. So first and most importantly, this was done to get a better airflow through the valve and hopefully improve efficiency. The second reason was just a little extra weight saving, although I will say turning this part of the valve down does make the valve pin slightly weaker, but again, as long as the valve pin doesn't bottom out, that should never be an issue. In terms of real-world performance change with a turned down back to the valve, I didn't really notice much, although I will say at this point I was testing with my two-piece hammer. Using the standard hammer this result may have changed, but when using the two-piece hammer, swapping from a plain stem valve to a turned down section valve only resulted in a feet per second change of around 10 feet per second. Again, that little bit of extra efficiency is always welcome, but again, it's nothing game-changing. And I do suspect the change would be a lot more noticeable when using the original setup. Right then, next up is going to be the titanium pellet probe. Now, I do want to say that there is pretty much no tangible benefit from making the pellet probe from titanium. The original one is 10.9 grams and the new titanium one weighs in at 6.2 grams. So a little bit of weight saving there, but I was going to remake the pellet probe anyway, so it made sense to just use titanium. The reason that I remade the pellet probe was just to add a little bit of length to the probe end. I wanted to push the pellet a little further into the rifling to make sure it was fully seated and not halfway up the tapered lead. I have found that making sure that the pellet is fully seated within the rifling is one of the more important parts of the loading process, and I always try and make sure that the skirt of the pellet is pushed just past the end of the tapered lead. In total, I added an extra 3mm to the end of the pellet probe. I only really needed an extra 1 to 2mm, but 3mm just makes sure no matter what pellet I use and no matter what skirt type is used within the pellet, I can always be sure that the pellet's pushed past the lead. Another thing I want to mention is that the pellet probe itself will have a small center mark in the end. This should not affect the part in any way. You could argue it's not 100% ideal, but I don't think it's going to make any real noticeable difference to the final product. And then lastly, the only part of the pellet probe geometry I didn't copy from the original one was the small notch in the side of the pellet probe. I think this was left over from another rifle, and I didn't need to include it in the new part. Right then, the last thing we're going to be making is the two-piece hammer. Now, as I said in the intro video, this is not my idea. I saw one Robert Lane made a few years ago now, and my one and his one are going to be fairly similar, although I think we come at things from slightly different angles. The basic idea between the two devices is to create a disconnect between the hammer weight and the hammer spring. The two-piece design removes any and all hammer spring preload against the valve and should eliminate hammer bounce. This will greatly improve the efficiency of the rifle, as the rifle won't be wasting air through repeated hammer strikes against the valve. To start off with, there are going to be two parts, the hammer weight and the hammer shuttle. The part you're seeing me make here is the hammer weight, and this will be the part that strikes the valve and is latched against the trigger sear. For now, this piece is made from some stainless steel, although I will say I'm still experimenting with different hammer weights, so once I find the ideal weight for my setup, I'll remake it out of some nice EN24 steel and then get it hardened, but for now stainless will hold up just fine. The hammer weight that you see me make in the video was the second prototype, and it did work okay, although the hammer weight was a little light. What I had to do to make it work was add a hammer spring packer to the rear of the shuttle in order to get the power that I was looking for. I did go ahead and redesign the hammer, which is slightly heavier, and the only real difference between the two pieces is that the band that you see around the rear of the weight was increased in length. That one is around 4mm thick, and the new one was around 9mm thick. Moving on from that, in the rear of the hammer you can also see I made a Delrin bush. This will just allow the hammer weight to slide nicely against the shuttle, making sure there is nothing binding or restricting the hammer's movement as the shuttle hits the valve housing. With that said, that's pretty much the hammer weight out the way. The second piece of the puzzle is the hammer shuttle. This part is the part affected by the hammer spring. It's going to be made out of aluminium, and to work properly, the shuttle needs to hit the valve block and stop. At this point, the weight will continue to move forward and strike the valve pin, firing a pellet out the end of the barrel. A simple enough part to make, although it has a couple of quirks. First, the shuttle will run on two plain bushes. These will make sure that there's no play between the shuttle and guide rod, but that everything moves smoothly. They'll be pressed in from the back once the outer profile is completed. The second thing I'll mention is that both the internal bore and external diameter were thinned out slightly at the end, and this was done to pre-compensate for any mushrooming that happens at the tip. The shuttle is going to be hitting the valve block, and being aluminium, it's not very impact resistant, so this part will deform over time. I am unsure if it will ever be bad enough that the part becomes unusable, but it is something that I wanted to try and compensate for. Now, I could have made this part from a couple other materials. I did want to use something that's softer than the valve housing, so I could have used Delrin or Peak. However, with both of those materials, I was a little worried that the shuttle would be a bit unstable. Delrin and Peak are both wonderful materials to use, but they do have one weakness, and that is thermal stability. They both grow and shrink at an incredibly fast rate, and I didn't want the shuttle to become tight on the guide rod in cold conditions. Delrin expands at about 4 times the rate that aluminium does, and Peak expands at about 2 times the rate. These materials do have one benefit though, and that is they are much more impact resistant. They deform and then rebound to their original shape rather than experiencing permanent deformation. Right then, so here's just a quick look at the more interesting parts that we've made. The valve return spring cap and the Delrin valve are already installed in the air cylinder, so here is just the Peak valve. It's pretty much what you saw on camera. The only difference is this part is Peak instead of Delrin. If you're interested in the weight difference, it's about half. So the original valve pin weighs about 6.2 grams, whereas the new one weighs about 3.2. So a little under half the weight of the original steel one. Moving on to something a little more interesting, this is the 2-piece hammer that you saw me make on video. So this was the second prototype. The hammer itself was a little too light. I needed to use a hammer spring packer in order to get the power, as the rifle itself doesn't have any other way of adjusting the hammer spring preload. But whatever the case, I just remade it with a slightly thicker back, so this section here is thicker. All other dimensions though are pretty much the same. So when this slides over the guide rod, you can see everything moves nice and freely. If we take our hammer spring, slide that over the back, what I can do then, hopefully you can see that or maybe hear it, but you can see that the hammer weight moves slightly. So no matter how much force I put on the hammer spring, the hammer weight is not affected by the hammer spring preload. What happens when we take a shot is that we pull the assembly back, the hammer spring is acting on the shuttle, then as we fire the rifle, the shuttle hits the block, then the hammer weight flies forward and strikes the valve. So quite a simple little device, but it does improve the shot count quite considerably. I'll save the stats till the final video, so you'll have to watch that if you're interested to know how efficient it is. But you won't have to wait long because that video will be coming tomorrow. But with that said, that's pretty much going to do it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. I hope it's been interesting or useful, and I'll see you in the next one.